Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinam Aditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace and blessed beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai, Jai, Jai. Well, namaste and welcome everyone to our Tuesday evening reading of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. I'm going to take a moment to put out these candles behind me so that they don't burn unnecessarily during the class. Hold on just a moment. While I'm doing that, perhaps Haima can tell us where we are.
Sure, Brother Shankara. Good evening and namaste, everyone. We are on page 30 on PDF, Vaishnava Disciplines. That's where I'm going to be starting today.
It's 22 in the hardcover.
22, okay. That's great. Okay, brother is back. Vaishnava Disciplines. After completing the Tantric sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna followed the Brahmani in the disciplines of Vaishnavism. The Vaishnavas are worshippers of Vishnu, the all-pervading, the supreme God, who is also known as Hari and Narayana. Of Vishnu's various incarnations, the two with the largest number of followers are Rama and Krishna. Vaishnavism is exclusively a religion of bhakti. Bhakti is intense love of God, attachment to Him alone. It is the nature of bliss and bestows upon the lover immortality and liberation. God, according to Vaishnavism, cannot be realized through logical reason, and without bhakti, all penances, austerities, and rites are futile. Man cannot realize God by self-exertion alone. For the vision of God, His grace is absolutely necessary, and this grace is felt by the pure of heart. The mind is to be purified through bhakti. The pure mind then remains forever immersed in the ecstasy of God vision. It is the cultivation of this divine love that is the chief concern of the Vaishnava religion. There are three kinds of formal devotion: tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. If a person showing devotion to God is actuated by malevolence, arrogance, jealousy, or anger, then his devotion is tamasic, since it is influenced by tamas, the quality of inertia. If he worships God from a desire for fame or wealth, or from any other worldly ambition, then his devotion is rajasic, since it is influenced by rajas, the quality of activity. But if a person loves God without any thought of material gain, if he performs his duties to please God alone and maintains toward all created beings the attitude of friendship, then his devotion is called sattvic, since it is influenced by sattva, the quality of harmony. But the highest devotion transcends the three gunas or qualities, being a spontaneous, uninterrupted inclination of the mind toward God, the inner soul of all beings. And it wells up in the heart of a true devotee as soon as he hears the name of God or mention of God's attributes. A devotee possessed of this love would not accept the happiness of heaven if it were offered him. His one desire is to love God under all conditions, in pleasure and pain, life and death, honor and dishonor, prosperity and adversity. These are two stages of bhakti. The first is known as Vaidhi Bhakti, or love of God, qualified by scriptural injunctions. For the devotees of this stage are prescribed regular and methodical worship, hymns, prayers, the repetition of God's name, and the chanting of his glories. This lower bhakti in course of time matures into para bhakti, or supreme devotion, known also as prema, the most intense form of divine love. Divine love is an end in itself. It exists potentially in all human hearts, but in the case of bound creatures, it is misdirected to earthly objects. Let me read that one more time. Divine love is an end in itself. It exists potentially in all human hearts, but in the case of bound creatures, it is misdirected to earthly objects. To develop the devotee's love for God, Vaishnavism humanizes God. God is to be regarded as the devotee's parent, master, friend, child, husband, or sweetheart, each succeeding relationship representing an intensification of love. These bhavas, or attitudes toward God, are known as Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhur. The rishis of the Vedas, Hanuman, the cowherd boys of Vrindavan, Rama's mother Kausalya, and Radhika, Krishna's sweetheart, exhibited respectively the most perfect examples of these forms.
Would you repeat the since we now have a definition of the forms, let's have a repetition of the
Definitely.
examples.
Okay. To develop the devotee's love for God, Vaishnavism humanizes God. God is to be regarded as the devotee's parent, master, friend, child, husband, or sweetheart, each succeeding relationship representing an intensification of love. These bhavas, or attitudes toward God, are known as Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhur. The rishis of the Vedas, Hanuman, the cowherd boys of Vrindavan, Rama's mother Kausalya, and Radhika, Krishna's sweetheart, exhibited respectively the most perfect examples of these forms. In the ascending scale, the glories of God are gradually forgotten, and the devotee realizes more and more the intimacy of divine communion. Finally, he regards himself as the mistress of his beloved, and no artificial barrier remains to separate him from his ideal. No social, or moral obligation can bind to the earth his soaring spirit. He experiences perfect union with the Godhead. Unlike the Vedantist, who strives to transcend all varieties of the subject-object relationship, a devotee of the Vaishnava path wishes to retain both his own individuality and the personality of God. To him, God is not an intangible absolute, but the Purushottama, the supreme person. While practicing the discipline of the Madhur Bhava, the male devotee often regards himself as a woman in order to develop the most intense form of love for Sri Krishna, the only Purusha or man in the universe. This assumption of the attitude of the opposite sex has a deep psychological significance. It's a matter of common experience that an idea may be cultivated to such an intense degree that every idea alien to it is driven from the mind. This peculiarity of the mind may be utilized for the subjugation of the lower desires and the development of the spiritual nature. Now, the idea which is the basis of all desires and passions in a man is the conviction of his indissoluble association with the male body. If he can inoculate himself thoroughly with the idea that he is a woman, he can get rid of the desires peculiar to his male body. Again, the idea that he is a woman may in turn be made to give way to another higher idea, namely that he is neither man nor woman, but the impersonal spirit. The impersonal spirit alone can enjoy real communion with the impersonal God. Hence, the highest realization of the Vaishnava draws close to the transcendental experience of the Vedantist. A beautiful expression of the Vaishnava worship of God through love is to be found in the Vrindavan episode of the Bhagavata. The gopis or milkmaids of Vrindavan regarded the 6-year-old Krishna as their beloved. They sought no personal gain or happiness from this love. They surrendered to Krishna their bodies, minds, and souls. Of all the gopis, Radhika or Radha, because of her intense love for him, was the closest to Krishna. She manifested Mahabhava and was united with her beloved. This union represents, through sensuous language, a supersensuous experience. Sri Chaitanya, also known as Gauranga, Gora, or Nimai, born in Bengal in 1485 and regarded as an incarnation of God, is a great prophet of the Vaishnava religion. Chaitanya declared the chanting of God's name to be the most efficacious spiritual discipline for the Kali Yuga.
Is that word prophet, dear? Prophet of the...
Yes, great prophet of the Vaishnava religion. You're right, Brother Shankara.
Would you please read that
I will
sentence
read
again?
one more time that sentence. Sri Chaitanya, also known as Gauranga, Gora, Nimai, born in Bengal in 1485 and regarded as an incarnation of God, is a great prophet of the Vaishnava religion. Chaitanya declared the chanting of God's name to be the most efficacious spiritual discipline for the Kali Yuga. Sri Ramakrishna, as the monkey Hanuman, had already worshipped God as his master. Through his devotion to Kali, He had worshipped God as his mother. He was now to take up the other relationships prescribed by the Vaishnava scriptures. Now we're moving on to Ramlala.
Hang on just one moment.
Yes.
So we reread all of this.
We did read this last time.
Yeah, but it certainly bears rereading.
It's yes.
Is there any comment, concern, or question from your own wisdom or experience, or anything that you would like to have clarified, or some concern you would like to raise? This is the moment before we move on to the next section, where anything in what we've read, if it isn't clear to you, if you feel that there's still some murkiness, or if you feel like you can add something from your own wisdom or experience, please take this opportunity to do that.
Brother Shankara, Namaste, Shailesh here.
Yes, Shailesh.
Sri Ramakrishna said that taking name of God is efficacious, or that's the best way to do sadhana in Kali Yuga.
Mhm.
And now here we are seeing that Chaitanya saying, did he learn that from Chaitanya, big Vaishnava documents, or whatever, or was his own experience, or both?
Well, of course he knew the Vaishnava teachings, though he didn't study them from books. He knew them intimately. Sri Ramakrishna remembered everything he ever heard. This is hard to believe, but it's true. At least that's what we're told. I wasn't there, but this is what Vivekananda said, and I don't think he would have exaggerated, that Sri Ramakrishna remembered everything. So yes, he did indeed say that the chanting of the name was the most efficient and efficacious, auspicious spiritual discipline for the Kali Yuga. And it mirrors what Sri Chaitanya said. But if you look at what Sri Chaitanya said and then what Sri Ramakrishna said, you'll see that Sri Ramakrishna amplifies it and extends beyond, the Vaishnavism or spiritual discipline of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't restricted to Krishna, but it focused on Krishna, on Govinda. Of course, he accepted Rama, and I suspect he also accepted Christ, though I don't know that I've read that in anything about him, but I'm sure he knew of and accepted Christ as an incarnation. So, because Christ's path was also a devotional or bhava path. Or bhakti path, I'm sorry. So definitely Sri Ramakrishna did say some of the same things that Sri Chaitanya said, but it was definitely, he never taught anything that was not from his own experience.
I see.
Thanks for bringing that up, Shailesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone about this long reading about the Vaishnava disciplines and the Vaishnava way of seeing things?
Yes, brother?
Yes.
I have some murkiness having to do with how the third paragraph starts out. It says there are three kinds of formal devotion: tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. And I can understand what rajasic or sattvic motivations for devotion. I can understand how that works, but I don't understand the tamasic one, that devotion to God would be actuated by malevolence, arrogance, jealousy, or anger.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain that?
If we just look at fundamentalists of any spiritual tradition, we see that these fundamentalists are fanatics. and they jealously regard their God, and they're they're angry with anyone. They will even kill them if they somehow, particularly the Muslim, the Orthodox Muslim, will believes it is perfectly legitimate to kill someone who in any way, in their opinion, insults the Prophet. May his name be praised. So this fanaticism is a form of devotion. There's no two ways about it. But it is, as Swami Vivekananda pointed out, a form of insanity. But it doesn't mean it isn't. They are worshiping God, and they are jealously guarding their God, and are angry, and can be extremely malevolent toward others who don't agree with them. One of the things that's true of Tamas, and to a lesser degree, but very definitely true also of Rajas, is this attitude that my opinion is the only opinion that is possible. This is the attitude of the fundamentalist of each of the spiritual traditions. Only my teachings, only the way I believe is correct, and anyone who believes otherwise is doomed. So that's how I understand this Tamasic devotion. Does that make sense?
Brother, that clears it up. I needed an example, and you have given the obvious one that I was not thinking about. So thank you.
You're more than welcome, dear. That's what we're doing here. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, I have one comment. Last week we had some discussion about male, female forms, all one spirit. There is a great book and article by David Frawley. He's extremely a researcher of Hindu Vedic Sanatana Dharma, and he has been living in Bangalore, I think. And he wrote a book about the River of Heaven. And in that, from the River of Heaven is a small article. It's on PDF on the web also. He describes about how the male-female forms unites into one spirit, what we just had in the previous paragraphs. Just if anybody is interested in, I thought that would be a wonderful article.
In fact, the true being of our being, the Atman, has no gender.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's.
Of course, it's written about oftentimes as he, but that's just a convention. It has nothing to do with the reality of it. The divine presence, Ishwar, or Atman, or Brahman, there's no gender there. Gender comes with duality. Gender comes with time, space, and causation. And though it is a reality for us, there can be no doubt about it. Swami Vivekananda said, there is a power that in the universe that thinks of herself as feminine, and her name is Kali. And this is based on his personal experience of 3 days of meditation at a mother temple in Kashmir. And he had this great realization of the mother. And this was his summary statement. I have come to believe there is a great power in the universe that thinks of herself as feminine, and her name is Kali. And this is her time. This was Sri Ramakrishna's chosen ideal, his Ishtadevata. And so there's no question that this feminine is there. There's also the masculine, which is embodied by Krishna. As Mirabai said, there's only one male person in universe, and that is Sri Krishna. all other souls are female. And but the idea is for us to transcend both identifications, male and female, and identify ourselves with that genderless being at the core of our being, the source of our being, the energy, the animation of us, which is Atman. And the Atman has no gender. There is nothing there other than the energy of the divine being expressed as universe, and within universe, our embodied beings, our jivas, our breathing. And of course, that's not just us, but all living creatures, all things that breathe. So thank you. I think that's very apt. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, well, I was reading your shadow pads, yeah, yesterday, and it was saying that the only gender is masculine and neuter. How do you explain that?
Well, I don't explain it at all. I don't have any idea what that person is talking about. I mean, they're obviously coming from some point of view that I don't know or understand or even have heard about. So
Yes.
whatever you can make of it, Robert, good for you, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's you Upanishads by Swami Nikhil Nadada. He's from New York.
He doesn't sound like he's a Ramakrishna order Swami.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, he's Ramakrishna.
What's his name again?
I'll spell it. Nikhilananda.
Nikhilananda. Swami Nikhilananda, right, Robert?
Yes.
Is
And it's Akila Isa Kinda Bundeka Upanishad.
well, like I say, Robert,
Okay.
I've no doubt that what you're saying is absolutely true, but I have no idea what that Swami is talking about, and I've never encountered this idea. But there's so much that isn't known here. I mean, this is just, I've only been at this for, just this, studying very seriously now for 13 years. I had much exposure and much study over the previous 40 some odd years, but there's so much that isn't known.
Okay. Well,
But
I read that and it was a little confusing to me because that was the first time I'd heard
it's confusing to me too. I don't have any idea
as well, so that's why I asked the question.
Well, but maybe you can finish reading what he says and come to some grasp of it and tell us next week what it is that he means by that.
Okay.
Anything else from anyone before we go on?
It's been my experience that those relationships in those forms will happen by themselves, that you really don't have to worry about it.
Well, yes, that's the short answer. If we do our spiritual disciplines, these things arise and pass away as we move higher and higher in our spiritual realization and our spiritual life. But as was pointed out, I believe it was read a week ago or so, Swami Brahmananda, maybe it was in another class, Swami Brahmananda said, spiritual life begins after samadhi. Now, that means savikalpa samadhi, not nirvikalpa samadhi. So we need to continue progressing higher and higher through our self-efforts until we achieve Savikalpa Samadhi. When we achieve Savikalpa Samadhi, then everything changes because of the experience of Savikalpa Samadhi, which I don't need to re-summarize. You all heard me talk about it. So it is emphatically a paradigm changer. When you have Savikalpa Samadhi, everything is different thereafter, because you know, not think, not believe, not have faith, but know, you have the complete conviction that the divine alone is the reality, and everything else is some sort of manifestation produced by that reality. Everything without exception. And you understand in a very fundamental way what Sri Ramakrishna means and what the scriptures mean when they say God alone is the doer. God alone is real. And so it's a game changer. And so this is where we're all headed. Each one of us who's here this evening, by our efforts, will indeed, at some point, and if we do our work in this lifetime, it will happen in this lifetime. We will have that experience, which means that at death, we will not be compelled to take a body again. We may make that choice, but for reasons of the divines, of our cooperation and love of the divine and desire to serve, but there will be no compulsion to take a body again. So all of that is devoutly to be wished. And so this is what Swami Vivekananda means when he said, with this as the prize, what else can really command your attention? Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, this is Daniel. Namaste.
Yes, namaste, Daniel.
Would it be appropriate to think of the male and female aspects of the divine as divine accommodation?
Well, what do you mean by accommodation, Daniel? I'm not sure I understand.
I was thinking maybe there's a nuance that I'm not aware of, but the divine, in order to woo, if you will, the ignorant into true knowledge, gives a form that is relatable in order
Oh,
to...
you're absolutely right. As Sri Ramakrishna
Okay.
says this, it is the love of the devotee that causes the formless divine to take these forms. And of course, some are male, some are female. And it is exactly as you said, in order, the desire of the devotee is to have this divine relationship, which is beyond ignorance. And so the divine takes these masculine and feminine forms in order, I like the word accommodation in that sense, to accommodate the love and desire of the devotee. Now that I understand, I completely agree with you.
I think that's a beautiful concept. Thank you.
Yes, it is a beautiful concept. And Sri Ramakrishna speaks about it eloquently, as we'll read as we go on. And we'll read of what he has to say about the divine, the formless divine, the ocean of formless consciousness taking form because of the cooling influence of the love and devotion of the spiritual aspirant.
Hmm.
Anything else? Thank you, Daniel. That was very on point. Okay, dear, please read on. Ramlala,
Ramlala.
the baby Rama, the baby Rama. What a story this is. Sri Ramakrishna's complete entrancement with the baby Rama.
Ramlala. About the year 1864, there came to Dakshineshwar a wandering Vaishnava monk, Jetadhari, whose ideal deity was Rama. He always carried with him a small metal image of the deity, which he called by the endearing name of Ramlala, the boy Rama. Toward this little image, he displayed the tender affection of Kausalya for her divine son Rama. As a result of a lifelong spiritual practice, he had actually found in the metal image the presence of his ideal. Ramlala was no longer for him a metal image, but the living God.
Now, this is exactly what Daniel was pointing to. This metal image it really is nothing at all, is it? Until we believe it is something. And when we believe it strongly enough and intensely enough, it reveals the truth. We see that it is a pointer toward the truth. And Ramlala then becomes a reality, accommodating and fulfilling the desire of this Jatadhari for a relationship with the boy Rama. And oh, so powerful is this story. So this is exactly what Daniel was pointing to. Here is an example of exactly that. Okay?
Ramlala was no longer for him a metal image, but the living God. He devoted himself to nursing Rama, feeding Rama, playing with Rama, taking Rama for a walk, and bathing Rama. And he found that the image responded to his love. Sri Ramakrishna, much impressed with his devotion, requested Jatadhari to spend a few days at Dakshineshwar.
Now, the reason he requested him to spend a few days was these wandering monks normally stayed only 3 days in one place. That was their customary way of doing, so that they didn't become attached to a place or allow anything to become attached to them. After 3 days, they moved on. So this is why this is noted, that Sri Ramakrishna asked him to stay beyond the 3 days. Please read that again.
Sure. Sri Ramakrishna, much impressed with his devotion, requested Jatadhari to spend a few days at Dakshineshwar. Soon Ramalala became the favorite companion of Sri Ramakrishna too. Later on, he described to the devotees how the little image would dance gracefully before him, jump on his back, insist on being taken in his arms, run to the fields in the sun, pluck flowers from the bushes, and play pranks like a naughty boy. A very sweet relationship sprang up between him and Ramlala, for whom he felt the love of a mother. One day, Jatadhari requested Sri Ramakrishna to keep the image and bade him adieu with tearful eyes. He declared that.
Read that again, please.
Yeah.
Notice that Sri Ramakrishna did not ask for the image. Jatadhari, seeing that he had realized the truth of the image and that Sri Ramakrishna also was realizing it, wanted to give it to Sri Ramakrishna. So please read it again, dear.
A sweet relationship sprang up between Ramlala, for whom he felt the love of a mother. One day, Jatadhari requested Sri Ramakrishna to keep the image and bade him adieu with tearful eyes.
Bade him adieu.
Adieu.
said goodbye,
ADIEU. Adieu.
bade him adieu.
With tearful eyes.
This is an instance where Nikhilananda in writing this used a term of art that is no longer known to us so intimately. So Jatadhari asked Sri Ramakrishna to keep the image and bade him adieu, said goodbye with tearful eyes. Of course, he wept not out of sadness, but out of sheer joy, sheer spiritual joy at Sri Ramakrishna's, at who he had encountered. So,
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Brother Shankara.
no, that's it, please.
Okay. He declared that Ramlala had fulfilled his innermost prayer and that he now had no more need of formal worship. A few days later, Sri Ramakrishna was blessed through Ramlala with a vision of Ramachandra, whereby he realized that the Rama of the Ramayana, the son of Dasaratha, pervades the whole universe as spirit and consciousness, that he is its creator, sustainer, and destroyer, that in still another aspect, he is the transcendental Brahman without form, attribute, or name. I'll read this one more time, Brother Shankara.
Let's understand that Sri Ramakrishna realized this. This is not something that he supposed or thought about or came to a conclusion of because of what he knew. No, this was his direct empirical experience. Okay, dear.
Okay, he declared that Ramlala had fulfilled his innermost prayer and that he now had no more need of formal worship. A few days later, Sri Ramakrishna was blessed through Ramlala with a vision of Ramachandra, whereby he realized that the Rama of the Ramayana, the son of Dasaratha, pervades the whole universe as a spirit and consciousness, that he is its creator, sustainer, and destroyer, that in still another aspect, he is the transcendental Brahman without form, attribute, or name. While worshipping Ramlala as the divine child, Sri Ramakrishna's heart became filled with motherly tenderness, and he began to regard himself as a woman. His speech and gestures changed. He began to move freely with the ladies of Mathur's family, who now looked upon him as one of their own sex. During this time, he worshipped the Divine Mother as her companion or handmaid.
So, in other words, he didn't abandon his relationship with Kali because of his relationship with his motherly relationship with Ramlala. But when it's said that Sri Ramakrishna himself, of course, was behind the screen, so to speak, genderless. He had a masculine form and Mother had a feminine form in order to fulfill their purposes. But neither of them were really with gender. They were the divine presence, unqualified by anything, let alone gender. And so now Sri Ramakrishna began to behave as a mother, as a woman. And so naturally, he completely embodied that. There wasn't it wasn't that he was acting. He became that. And so the ladies of the manager of the Dakshineshwar temple complex, Mathur Babu, the ladies of his household, of course, they saw Sri Ramakrishna as exactly what he had become. It says his gestures, his speech, the way he walked, it was all, womanly. This is described in great detail in the Great Master, Swami Sardananda's book. It's talked about more as we read further in the Gospel as well. Sri Ramakrishna talks about it himself. But this is one of the absolutely mysterious incidents of Sri Ramakrishna's life, that this was just effortless for him. It wasn't something he did. It was just something he became. So please read that again, dear.
Sure. While worshipping Ramlala as the divine child, Sri Ramakrishna's heart became filled with motherly tenderness, and he began to regard himself as a woman. His speech and gestures changed. He began to move freely with the ladies of Mathur's family, who now looked upon him as one of their own sex. During this time, he worshipped the Divine Mother as her companion or handmaid. Next subheading, in communion with the Divine Beloved.
No, okay, so let's see. He didn't abandon his worship of the Divine Mother as Kali, but instead of being her servant or child which was his normal relationship with her, he now worshipped her and served her as her handmaiden. In other words, her servant as a woman rather than as a man. And again, the sincerity of this is for those of us who have this conviction about Sri Ramakrishna, there can be no question about its sincerity and its completeness. There just wasn't anything left out. It wasn't an act, it was a way of being. Any comments, concerns, or questions before we move on? Anything at all about any of this experience with Ramlala that raises any concern or question, or calls forth from you some comment from your own wisdom or experience about this kind of thing? Okay. How are we doing for time?
Another 10 minutes, 11 minutes at least.
Okay, very good.
Sure.
Let's plunge on.
In communion with the Divine Beloved, Sri Ramakrishna now devoted himself to scaling the most inaccessible and dizzy heights of dualistic worship, namely the complete union with Sri Krishna as the beloved of the heart. He regarded himself as one of the gopis of Vrindavan, mad with longing for her divine sweetheart. At his request, Mathur provided him with woman's dress and jewelry. In this love pursuit, food and drink were forgotten. Day and night he wept bitterly. The yearning turned into a mad frenzy. For the divine Krishna began to play with him the old tricks he had played with the gopis. He would tease and taunt, now and then revealing himself, but always keeping at a distance. Sri Ramakrishna's anguish brought on a return of the old physical symptoms, the burning sensation, an oozing of blood through the pores, a loosening of the joints, and the stopping of physiological functions. The Vaishnava scriptures advise one to propitiate Radha and obtain her grace in order to realize Sri Krishna. So the tortured devotee now turned his prayer to her. Within a short time, he enjoyed her blessed vision. He saw and felt the figure of Radha disappearing into his own body. He said later on, it's impossible to describe the heavenly beauty and sweetness of Radha. Her very appearance showed that she had completely forgotten herself in her passionate attachment to Krishna. Her complexion was a light yellow. Now, one with Radha, he manifested the great ecstatic love, the Mahabhava, which had found in her its fullest expression. Later, Sri Ramakrishna said, the manifestation in the same individual of the 19 different kinds of emotion for God is called, in the books on Bhakti, Mahabhava. An ordinary man takes a whole lifetime to express even a single one of these. But in this body, meaning himself, there has been a complete manifestation of all 19. The love of Radha is the precursor of the resplendent vision of Sri Krishna, and Sri Ramakrishna soon experienced that vision. The enchanting form of Krishna appeared to him and merged in his person. He became Krishna. He totally forgot his own individuality and the world. He saw Krishna in himself and in the universe. Thus, he attained to the fulfillment of the worship of the personal God. He drank from the fountain of immortal bliss. The agony of his heart vanished forever. He realized Amrita, immortality, beyond the shadow of death. One day, listening to a recitation of the Bhagavata on the veranda of the Radhakanta temple, he fell into a divine mood and saw the enchanting form of Krishna. He perceived the luminous rays issuing from Krishna's lotus feet in the form of a stout rope, which touched first the Bhagavata and then his own chest, connecting all three, God, the scripture, and the devotee.
Bhagavata,
Bhagavata.
Bhagavata, the scriptures, Bhakta, the devotee, the spiritual aspirant, and Bhagavan, the divine person made manifest for our fulfillment and enlightenment. All three are one and the same. This is his experience. And notice that, as always with Sri Ramakrishna, there was a tangible physical aspect to this. He saw the three connected by a stout rope. This was not just some imagination of this. This was given to him as a vision of the three connected by a stout rope. And none of these things, by the way, we should never think, the temptation is to think that these are boastful statements by Sri Ramakrishna that these things happen. He had no boastfulness. He had no ego. He was just telling us in the most sincere and straightforward way what actually happened to him. And so it's not that he is vaunting himself or saying, look at me. No. He's just saying, look at what is possible. Because if it's possible for him, it's possible for all of us by the grace of the divine. All of us can have realization, perhaps not the same realization. Each of us is unique, but realization beyond any ability to measure it or think about it by our minds. Any comments, concerns, or questions before we sign off, because it's now 8:26.
Is the reference to the lotus feet the same as the lotus that doesn't get mud on it, or what is
Yes,
the meaning of
yeah.
that?
The lotus feet. This is a term of art within Sanatana Dharma, within what we call Hinduism. The lotus is known, just as you said, it's stainless. It is perfect. So the lotus heart, the lotus feet, and the Radhakanta temple, by the way, Radhakanta is the temple of the worship there at Dakshineshwar of Sri Krishna and of Radha. So the Radhakanta, this is why he fell into this mood at that Radhakanta temple. But you're right, Glenn, that the lotus feet is the ideal, the perfect, the feet on which stands all the person standing on those feet. What they're standing on is all the wisdom that is, and so it's absorbed into these lotus feet, and this is why the habit is to take the dust of the feet of a holy person. It's not a recognition of their personality. It's not a worshipful gesture toward the person. It is a recognition and desire to have some participation in some way of taking to yourself what it is that they're standing on, the wisdom that comes from passing all understanding. Thanks, Glenn. Anything else from anyone?
I'd like to maybe add another layer to Glenn's question.
Yes.
Why are the feet such a focus when you're talking about expressing your reverence to your guru or a deity? Why are the feet?
Because this is what they're standing on. They stand on the wisdom and knowledge. They are standing on this. Their feet are in contact with it, so to speak, because they're standing on it. And so this is the custom in India. It may be elsewhere, Nepal, Tibet, I don't know. But in any event, it is in India. And of course, within Christianity, it's also there. If you read the Shoes of the Fisherman, there is something special about the feet of the divine beings. At least they should be, and that become the Pope and the cardinals and the bishops and so on. Those that it's there, but it's not as emphasized. But it has to do with the wisdom, the eternal and limitless wisdom that they have access to, metaphorically, that they are standing on. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, there is only one line left in this small topic.
I'm sorry. I didn't know there was anything left.
That's okay. You exactly said that what he is going to say it. You already said it, but I just want to read this one line.
Okay,
And
please.
then we will close it there next week. Next time we'll start Vedanta. So let me read this little paragraph and then finish that one line. One day, listening to a recitation of the Bhagavata on the veranda of Radhakanta temple, he fell into a divine mode and saw the enchanting form of Krishna. He perceived the luminous rays issuing from Krishna's lotus feet in the form of a stout rope, which touched first the Bhagavata and then his own chest, connecting all three, God, the scripture, and the devotee. After this vision, he used to say, I came to realize that Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhagavata, God, devotee, and scripture are in reality one and the same. That was it. You said that same thing, actually, one and the same. That's the end of that particular small topic.
I have to close. Thank you so very much, Haima, as always, for your skillful and loving reading. I have a happy announcement, and you'll be the first group of people to receive this announcement publicly. We have a venue now for Swami Sarvapriyananda's July 8th and 9th 2-day retreat on the Ashtavakra Gita. It is the Global Mall, which is about 2 miles from the center here. There is a hotel right next door. I don't know if there's an actual relationship between the two business entities, but in any event, people will be able to come and stay. That want to fly in can come and stay at that hotel, and we have an accommodation that can seat up to 500, and I will very cheerfully tell you that it was our beloved Balakrishna Dada that made this arrangement with the Global Mall. So now we have a venue which had been a matter of concern, and so we will now go ahead. Balakrishna and I will get together and work out all the details of how this will actually work logistically. And there's lots of restaurants in the Global Mall, so there's no need for us to work up feeding people and so on. So what can we say? Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Thakur Ma. That Balakrishna was moved to inquire there at the Global Mall and found us a place, which is a real great boon. Anything else from anyone before we close? All right, dears. Well, until tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, when we continue our reading and discussion of Bhagavad Gita. And then, of course, Saturday, we'll take up at noon. On Saturday, we'll take up Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and reading and discussion the book How to Know God. And then on this coming Sunday, we take up the study in May. We're studying Jnana Yoga, Advaita Vedanta. And the topic for this Sunday is, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? So that's what we can foresee for the rest of this week. Any final thought or concern or question from anyone? All right, dears. Until next time, again, Haima, thank you so very much for your skillful, thoughtful, and loving reading.
I'm honored.
And we look forward to hearing from Swayam tomorrow evening. I noticed that I see something called iPhone, which normally means that Swayam is present with us. And so we'll hear from her unless we hear otherwise. And Jeff, are you still with us?
Oh, yes.
Will you be our reader this Saturday?
Most certainly, yes.
Ah, how cheerful. Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, our stable of readers is lined up, and so we'll progress on that basis. Much love to you all. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. And may we go forward knowing that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our mother and father. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Dearly beloved, make it so. And Om Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abhir Moiti. Dearly beloved, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dearly beloved, make it so. So, anything else from anyone? Any final thought? All right. Until tomorrow evening, may you all be well and in bright spirits. Good night, everyone.